Hey, it's Ashton Solecki with Hellblazer Biz.
Hey everyone, I have the honour and the privilege and the company and the return of Ashton Solecki, who's one of my favourite guests recently. So much fun to talk to. So thanks for joining me, Ashton. I appreciate you coming back.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Also, I will gladly wear the title of one of your favorite guests. Best makeup of all time.
So I say it's just yeah, you are. To be fair, I did come off to a wreck. I said I think I've got my new celebrity crush.
I need like a pin or like a little crown. Take like
Yep.
an awkward school picture. You know those like school pictures when you were a kid where you're just like awkwardly posing. We can
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
ribbon.
Brilliant. No, it's great to have you back. I say after obviously speaking about Roswell Delirium, and we've kind of kept in touch since then, and it's been quite a scream as well. Like I say, the messages now and then, it's been quite funny. Some of the stories, and I'll get into one of the others later on. But yeah, it's great to obviously see you in Elkhorn,
Yeah.
which we did talk about on our last interview briefly because it was just about to come out. Now it's out.
Exactly. Yes, it was just about to come out then. And I remember being like, I think I can say, I think I can tell everybody that this is happening now. It's so
Yeah.
hard to keep things under wraps.
Mhm.
Especially like it's complicated because sometimes you'll work on something and then you won't see it for years. But in this case, when you know it's coming and you're like, okay, they're gonna release it in April, I'm like, hi, my hands are sweating. I need to tell everybody about this because I can't. It's like sitting on a big secret, and I'm not good at secrets. Don't tell me a secret. I'm not good at it.
I'll remember
I
that.
have some secrets. Don't tell me secrets.
Okay, I shall remember that. But yeah, it's cool. But yeah, as I say, Elkhorn has come out. I've only watched 3 episodes because I'm gutted because they stopped putting it on YouTube.
Oh, they did. Yes, they
And it's
did.
like, and now I've got no way to watch it anymore because I tried to. I did try. I'm just going to obviously for INSP for you to know when you are watching this and listening to this. I have done everything I can to try and sign up to all the streaming channels in the US where it's obviously going on and you know the pay-per-view or whatever, and it won't let me. So I'm gutted. So I'll have to wait for it.
I hope it's just a matter of time before it shifts and it's a little different. But yeah, I was interested actually because I didn't know what the strategy was. Because so often as an actor, like when you're just an actor and you're not also a producer, you have no idea what the strategy is going to be. You're just along for the ride, and it was so hard because people would be like, when is it coming out? Where is it coming out? How will I be able to watch? And I'm like, I don't know the answer to any of those questions whatsoever, but I will get back to you when I know.
Yeah. Okay, I must say, yeah, because they're usually my questions as well, and I think I stumped you on the last one too.
You did. You just went, I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So Elkhorn is out. I think it's episode 6. Are we on now, anyway? Is it this week or is it 7?
I think episode 7 just played, and then there's 3 left. I think I might be.
Yeah, there'll be 3. It's 10 episodes left, isn't there? Yeah, it's 10 episodes in total. So yeah, I think there'll be 3.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's exciting because it's my perspective that the season starts slow and then builds. And I remember filming the last episode, and it was the first time that I got to work with everyone else in the cast, because most of the time Madora, who I play, she is in a scene with her husband or she's in a scene with Rosie, and that's pretty much it. Maybe sometimes Paddock, but not really. And then the last episodes, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so nice to meet you guys. It's so nice to work with you guys. Hey, how's it going?
Excellent. Yeah, you just rub it in for me. It gets really better, and I can't watch it. But it has been great to see you, obviously, as coming on as Medora, who is the Marquis' wife and the namesake of the town. Where then it's very. I mean, from what I've seen so far of the two of you, you just are you work together you and Jeff were brilliant together. Anyway, we seem to play
Thank
off
you.
each other so perfectly well.
Thank
The
you.
dastardly couple, I think I called him. I
Yes,
think.
indeed. It's so fun to play. Actually, what's interesting is that the town that Medora,
Yeah.
the town named after Medora, is a real place still. It's very small. And I actually grew up fairly close to
Oh,
Medora.
really?
I grew up in eastern Montana,
Yeah.
like 2 hours from the Badlands and another
Wow.
hour from Medora. So I've been to Medora. I actually know the land that they're talking about. I've hiked around in the Badlands. I've taken my doggo with me. So it's cool because it's like everything about this Western for me, from like the subject to it and where it's filmed and all this, just feels like a bookend in a way, like coming full circle, because I grew up watching Westerns and all this other stuff. So it's pretty cool. But you were talking about like the chemistry with Jeff. Something that I find incredible about Jeff is do you see how piercing his eyes are? Like on screen,
Yeah.
his eyes are piercing. Okay. Let me tell you, in person, they're like daggers, okay? They're just like soul-piercing little daggers. And he's so easy to work with, and he very professional, and will like sort of talk about ideas here and there, and not like playing it out, but planting seeds, and it just is great to ping pong off of him. It's so great to be in front of actors in general that that you can just play with, and you don't really even know like what's going to fully happen in the scene, because the person is giving you so much life and you're responding to so much life, and then they call cut and you're like, interesting, that was interesting, wasn't it?
Excellent. And I think I've spoken with everyone I've spoken to at the moment, and said about the fact that you're such a close-knit cast, and you really do feed. You seem to that shows on screen when that happens, when you do feed off each other. Same with Roswell. You had that amazing bond with everybody, and it was it's fantastic to see. And you're right, Jeff was on there, and it was fascinating as well, because he gave me a lot of information about Madora that I didn't know. In the fact that Madora is. You are not you. Well, yeah, you are Medora. The money, you're the money. Out of the two of them, the Marquis, he's got his title, and he likes to pretend, he's like to be the aristocrat, but the money is Medora and the New York.
Well, and I mean, it's interesting too, because like at that time, this takes place in the 1880s, right? And you think about that time in mostly the world, and the power publicly that women were given is pretty non-existent.
Yeah.
And so even when you're like researching history, you usually read about men, this guy. But the women, as we know, are equally important for crafting the future that we now live in. And so Medora, at the time, she is the brains behind the operation. She is the money behind the operation. She is well partnered with the Marquis, they actually had like an incredible love story. Like they were genuinely so in love. But you have to think about like Medora. She has all these dreams to build the West into like the Paris of the West. You know what I'm saying? But she can't be as demanding as she wants to be. She can't be as as a man would act in that way. So she has to act through nuance and through all these other ways. But she's pulling the strings behind the scenes there. But what's really cool is that her husband, the Marquis, sees her as his equal and loves her so deeply that it's like beyond their time, it seems. It's actually a really cool, incredible love story.
It is, because I do know, because I think it was after he was died as well, obviously well after Elkhorn. I think, if I remember rightly from what Jeff says, Medora went on a huge campaign because she believed it was a conspiracy and that he was killed. I think the government were behind it and things.
Yes.
And she did not let it rest until she died. I think that she was fighting for it until the end of her days, which is really powerful.
And one of the it was interesting because like when I was preparing to play her, I'd never played a real person before, and there's a lot of things obviously you can find about Teddy Roosevelt. Obviously, there's a lot of things you can find about Marquis. There's not a whole lot that you can find about the personality and the inner thoughts about Medora or anything that would indicate as such. But one of the only things that I did find, besides like what you're talking about, where she's campaigning and writing these newspaper articles about her husband that's probably been assassinated, is years and years later, after he's passed away, and she's in her older years in life, and they have children. I think they had 3 children.
Right.
And I found a telegram that she wrote, and that to me, that was like, oh, I see who she is. And in the telegram, she's telling her children to always have a goal in life that they strive towards, and to work really hard, and to be kind to each other, and to take care of each other, and to always remember their father with love, and remember how much we love you, and da da da. And I thought, wow, this couple may have been wicked, but there is truly a deeper reason for everything that they did and Medora was drawn to. And so, it was fun to play with. For it was like all of a sudden this villain that was wrote, and things are not exactly accurate. Obviously, it's Hollywood eye.
Yeah.
Take a lot of liberties and stuff like this. But, I'm reading the scripts and I see this like very character-y villain. And at first I was like, man, how am I going to do this? Because I'm more of like a very dramatic type, and I wasn't sure what to do. And then I found that telegram and I was like, wait, I know who this person is. Now I can play. So that was cool.
That's really, really interesting to hear, Ashton, as well, because it's like, I was about to ask you how you got into it and stuff like that, because I guess from records, we all know records, of that kind of era and before were all usually written by men. So, they would have kept stuff like that out the picture as much. But we do all know, say, Madora was such a fantastically strong character, and they usually, the old saying, isn't it, behind every successful man, there's usually a woman, a very intelligent woman sitting pulling the strings.
Why that is, it's because, it's a partnership really that happens, and this yin and the yang and the balance, and one person's weaknesses are the other's strengths and vice versa. And that is a power couple.
And it's great. It's great to hear as well. Like you say, you found that telegram to show, because, from what I've seen in Elkhorn so far, they're evil. They're not evil. They know what they want, and they just want to own. They're like certain other people. They just like to control, and they want everything to be theirs, and they want their say on it. They want their money in, basically. And but to find out there's actually you do see that it's coming across there's the sweet side of Medora, which is probably sweet but deadly. It's the sweet smile with a dagger in the back as she comes in.
Exactly.
But you've got the character underneath there where she's at, the way that love and the familial love comes through, where that's what their aim is. That was what their goal is in the long term. They look out for each other. They want their families to be brought up really well and respectful of others as well, which is amazing considering what they were like in the
I remember there was I don't know if I'll ever do this again, but I probably will. But I read comments on Instagram, on YouTube, and da 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 da. And most people were like, our couple, da 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 blah blah blah. And this one person was like, this is so sad. This is not what they were like at all. Which I'm like, I understand, and it probably isn't. We'll never truly know, because it's not the 1800s and we don't know. But something that like I think is hard is when you take something historical that happened and then you turn it into like an entertainment series, and it's not a historical series. It's not, what I'm saying? So it's based off of truth, but it's not a true story. You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of liberties that are taken, and it's interesting to play with, but it doesn't mean that it's accurate per se. But I think exactly what you said. Whether or not she was actually ill-intended or actually had this wicked side to her, what did drive her was this immense love that she had for the Marquis and this vision for the future, for the world to be a certain way, and for her to have children that are part of that and help build that. And that is true, and that does shine through, thankfully.
Definitely. It is great. And it's just, I say, there's some fantastic interactions as well, and the way you have, I can only base it on what I've seen in that one episode where you've been in a couple of them so far, but obviously I think the main one for me was episode 2, isn't it, where you're introduced to the Marquis and
oh yes,
the dinner and everything like that, and you've got Roosevelt there. That was just hilarious. It was just such a power play between them, because that's what I really enjoyed, because the show and all of you guys acting in it have really managed to bring out like you've just talked about, the characters that you've studied yourself, so you can really have that showing. Let's say in the dinner table, for example, you've got three hugely strong personalities. You've got Roosevelt, who's obviously he's a well-known guy, very aristocratic. He's known from the East and New York and being this fine dandy city slicker, as I'll put it down. Billy Crystal, yeah. Excuse me. And then you've obviously got the Marquis and Medora as well, and the looks, because I think there's sometimes when
there's no words even, just looks.
Yes, exactly. You've got Mark. I think Roosevelt said something, and Marquis he's sitting there contemplating, and Medora's just there.
Exactly.
You can see in her head. You can see in her head, it's like this ticking over. It's like, no, that's not going to happen. And she starts to slowly, turn the conversations around and push the.
Yes,
trying to be sweet, trying to get him.
Like the socially acceptable way, right? She's
Mm-hmm.
very bold, because like nowadays, me as Ashton, if I were in a situation, I'd just be no, but that's not how things were then, especially for women. They were expected to abide by these certain things, but Madora doesn't abide by those things anyway, but she likes to maintain an acceptability, you know what I'm saying, and work within that. And so it was interesting to hold all those things in my mind, knowing that I can't do this and I must appear this way, but this is what I'm actually thinking and feeling. And so how can I direct this conversation between these two stubborn men who are being really dumb to get to get each other to talk, and not let my expression say too much, but inevitably when you're thinking and feeling something, it shines through. I love that dinner scene. It's still one of my favorite ones. I think it's hilarious. Like you said, these strong personalities and the tension that you can just literally cut it with a knife. It's just tense.
It is, and it is. It was such a really good scene. It's fantastic. And there's another side of things as well. We see Medora in episode 3, and that's again where it shows what kind of a character she is, because Rosie's on her own in the room with that thief. First of all, Medora's told her to just go up and raid the room, and poor little Rosie, when I spoke to Tori, she was like, she's sitting there thinking, this sweet, I'm just, very, very mild-mannered girl, and she doesn't, she's conflicted about having to go and root in this room, but she's suddenly, thrown into, you're the manager of the hotel and stuff. But But Medora does come into her rescue right at the right moment, and just, and again, back in that day, for a woman to be as assertive and as authoritative as what Medora did when she came into that thief, when he was obviously, he was starting to be cocky, he was starting to give it all back, and Medora was pretty much like, no.
She doesn't know, but it's like a smile, but like daggers. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
No, that's not gonna happen. Yeah, but what's also interesting is, I love one of the how do I put, like a theme, a subline of Medora's existence in this season with Rosie is when I remember when I was reading through, I was like, this is interesting. Why has Medora taken such an interest in Rosie? Like, what is the reason? Tori and I have been joking all the time, like, I think Rosie and Medora just need a spin-off season of them going to traveling the world. And of course, that's not what will happen, but and then these certain things are said that are like, when you're an enterprising businesswoman, you have to be wary of this, this, and this. And I think really Medora, because of the status that she holds, and people are fearful of her, and she's powerful with money, and they're not opposed to using violence. It is the West, and that's how things worked at that time there, for better or for worse. And I can imagine that Medora felt a bit lonely in that way. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, sure, she's got like maids and things like that, but
they're not peers or friends, are they?
But like, exactly, like no friends. And then all of a sudden she sees Rosie, who's good at what she does, is she sees a fire in Rosie, who's fighting back against the hotel manager, and she's like, wait a minute, I think that Medora sees Rosie and her, you know what I'm saying? Like, she sees herself in Rosie, and she's like, wait, I'm gonna take you under my wing. And it goes places, especially the last couple episodes.
So I've heard.
As Rosie starts to not really listen to Medora's influence, and that
Right.
eats Medora up from the inside out, and she becomes calculated because she's hurt. You know what I'm saying? She's very calculated. But those last couple episodes are my favorite between Rosie and Medora and that guy.
Excellent. Let's get what's to say. That's Medora and the Marquis kind of a narcissism around them, haven't they? Because and anything against that. So I can see where Medora. You can obviously, from what I've seen, Medora's obviously nurturing Rosie, and you can see that coming up. So I can imagine if she starts not listening to her, then it's like it's an affront, isn't it? It's like the parent or the older sister, and it's like, hang on a minute, I just want to slap them around.
Who gave you S's at the everything? Just wait a minute here. Wait. That's sort of the vibe that it is. Uncertain.
Yeah, you entitled little brat.
Wait a minute.
Yeah. That's really, really cool. So, I mean, what I've asked, I think as well, the costuming as well. I want to ask you this because when I spoke to Tori, and she mentioned, and she had all these like little dresses, but she was like, poor Ashton had this like really heavy velvet, and it was really hot. So, how did you manage that?
There were some days, because we filmed up in the desert, they built this whole western town. The art department is just like seriously incredible. But being in the desert, there's extreme colds and there's extreme hot. So on the cold days, it was great because I'd wear like my long johns underneath, and I'm cozy. But on the hot days, like sitting in these heavy, thick dresses, and obviously there's no air conditioning, and I'm staying out of the sun because it's baking, but it's still like over 100 degrees. And I learned that obviously a lot of hydration, but to sit and not move until I am exactly needed and maintained, to refrain from sweating too much, from refrain from getting too hot, and then action, go, and then sit in front of it. Actually, there's this picture, I should post this picture actually, where it was so hot and we were in between takes. And I lifted the bottom of my heavy dress and held it in front of this massive fan, and it's just blowing up the dress. I'm like, it's so hot, like Marilyn Monroe style, except style.
Can you imagine? I know Tori said, I think at one point she was like the producers had come to her and told her to stop because she said she's got that fast metabolism, whatever, the sweating, and they told her she had to sit up there and they had to put fans under her and stuff to try and hold her hair dries afloat.
Exactly. I'm standing. My dresses were so thick you couldn't see sweat of any kind, but oh my God. Every day I'd come over and my dog, I'm sure, was like, she'd be licking my skin extra, probably so salty. And it's like a Ritz cracker.
My dogs do that, and it's like, I think they love me. It's like, no, it's just because I've been out in the hot weather.
Exactly.
It's like, those damn things would, chew you to pieces if they could have.
Seriously, sometimes I wonder. Have you ever heard that thing where it's like, if a person, like a pet owner, dies in their house, like the difference between a cat and a dog is like a cat would wait till you've just died and then start eating you, and a dog. There's some people say a dog would never eat you, and sometimes I'm like, I think my dog would eat me, actually, out of love, perhaps, but a little salty.
Yeah, I think it's more the salt. Yeah, I think that's what mine would do, especially one of them. Yeah, the cats would. The cats would be the ones to finish me off in the first place.
Exactly. They're like, finally, our time has come.
Exactly. Those little buggers sit at the top of the stairs and just try and trip you up. So as you're walking down the stairs and you run under your feet and just, there's been several occasions where that's nearly been quite disastrous.
Sneaky.
It is, yeah. I'll send you another picture of one at the bottom. When I took at the bottom of the stairs, his little eyes are peeking out from the curtain. It's under the curtain, or because you walk by and it will just like smack you and trip you up. And
they're so different. Cats and dogs are so different, and I never fully understood like why people would say that until I got my dog Sophie. And the best thing that I heard that sums this up is the difference between a cat and dog is with a cat, the owner comes home from a long day at work and, feeds the cat and gives the cat fresh water and cleans the poop up. And the cat goes, wow, you feed me, you water me, you clean up my poop. I must be a god. And the dog goes, wow, you feed me, you clean me, you pick up my poop. You must be a god. You know what I mean? It's like the difference of idolization versus like, yes.
Yeah, I've seen that meme. It's great.
Yep, that's the one.
It's brilliant. So back to Elkhorn now. It's like just don't think so. That's my fault. I carry on with you know this from the last time. Our chains of thoughts. I've straight off. So with the actual Elkhorn itself, we had the 10 episodes, which I've seen 3. We're on episode 6 now. How have you been able to? How have you found as you progressed with the filming? How did you find yourself understanding Medora more? Should I say? We've really kind of touched on it as you got into it, and you've gone in because obviously with the set and the costumes and everything else, and
Right,
you know, I'm sure you must have experienced more.
It was amazing too, because like you do all your preparation, and then when you go to start filming, when the wardrobe was put on my body, it's elevated and made me understand, like, I don't know, like you hold your body differently when the wardrobe's on and you see yourself in the mirror. So that was definitely an impact. And then also Rebecca was the hair and makeup artist. The way she would do my hair was like incredible. My makeup and all these things actually were very additive to me in a way I didn't expect and has never really done to me before. But the biggest learning that I had was, when we first started filming, I think, especially because this was a team between the cast and the crew that hadn't worked together. Obviously, the crew had worked together before, but between the cast and the crew is a lot of newness happening. And so in the very beginning, there's a lot of, in my perspective and in my experience, it felt unsettled for me because I was like, okay, what am I doing? How's the flow of this going to work? And then I'm getting input from all these different people. So which advice am I supposed to take? But that's different than what I prepared. And then pretty shortly thereafter, I learned, wait, actually, I know what to do. I know how to do the work that I'm doing. And I grew in the confidence to be able to own the character and then take the and then all of a sudden we became this well-oiled team pretty quickly thereafter, like after just a couple days of filming. And then it was like, okay, now we know how to work together. We understand the flow of things together. We're becoming this well-oiled machine. And then to be able to work across the other actors who are then owning who they are and growing in that. And then something about interacting together actually brings it up even more. And especially between like Jeff, who plays the Marquis, and I, being on set so much together and getting to know him even more and then act with him so much, the husband-wife dynamic, suddenly I see, interesting, now I know this about you, and now I know this about Marquis because I know this about you, and it just elevates everything better. And so it gets to this rhythm, I think, that is just like rocking and rolling. But it's interesting because the episodes were not filmed exactly in order. There's some things that like in episode 6 or 4 or something like that, I'd filmed very first. And I doubt that the viewer can see this, but when I watch it, I'm like, I'm very unsettled in that scene because I remember it, and I remember feeling it was like the first 1 or 2, and I remember feeling unsettled and feeling like I didn't nail it, and I see it that way, and I don't think the viewer thinks that, but I recognize it. But I mean, the whole thing was I'd never done TV before, and it's so much different than film, like the pacing, all the different cooks in the kitchen at the same time. Everything was different, and it was such an incredible experience, learning experience, and thankful for it. And by the end of it, I was like, oh dang, we're a well-oiled machine, and now we're done. Hopefully we'll get renewed for a season 2.
Yeah, fingers crossed. That'd be great.
Yes.
And released in the UK. I'll just add that.
Yeah.
No, that's really interesting to hear. And I know from when we chatted about Roswell, I was really impressed with your dedication to how you go into that role and you look and you work with other people. Like you said you go onto the set with Kylie when you weren't there, but when she was there, so you'd understand how the younger version, so you could incorporate that into the older version. That really impressed me. It's something I was like, I've sung it to everyone. I was like, that was amazing. That was a really dedication. And the fact that you've had to do that again with working around and understanding as you've gone on, and it must be difficult, like you say, when you've come into this whole new series and then you film in the last episodes before the first, so you've not really been able to get into the character in that order to build up. So I can see where you might feel uncomfortable. I'm sure it doesn't come across whatsoever, but you're always critical with your own pieces of work, aren't you? So of
course, Well, then also it was interesting because like the filming schedule would be like a couple weeks on, a while off. And because I'm not in every episode in a large extent, for me, sometimes the gaps between were quite large. And so it was a great thing for me to learn to, okay, you build this world and preparing like, okay, this is Medora, this is how I feel in it. And then when you put that aside for like a month or 2 months or something, all of a sudden to step back into it, you're like, I have to get the dust off for a second, and kind of restructure. And so I got very good at that, but I'd never had to do that before, because when you're filming, you're just heads down
all the
for
way
weeks
through.
at a time, where this was like, I don't know how many, maybe like 9 or 10 months of filming and learning how to get very good at putting the skin back on very quickly and confidently. Yeah, learned a lot. It was a mad respect for people who do that. Now I get it. Now I'm like, oh, I see.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. People always, some people will think it's an easy life, and so it's not an easy life whatsoever. I mean, for in an actor's life, because they'll just see people on TV, and because you do it so seamlessly, they'll think, it must be it's easy. It's not. It's just as well. Every job is difficult in its own right, but to be able to just switch off and then switch, like you say, a few weeks later, just get the costume back on, and you've got to be back where you were.
Right.
That takes a lot to be able to get, to do that, which is why you do what you do. It's the art.
Yes, exactly. And if we had any sense about us, none of us would be doing it, because it's maddening. But it's the thing is, I've heard this phrase where it's like, if you want to make money, don't be an actor. Do literally anything else. But if you cannot do anything else because you just can't not, then you can be an actor. And because it's not just the art of it, but also like when you're an actor, and if you're not like, a nepotism baby, or you've got like parents or siblings or some type of you start like at the absolute bottom. And you do hear occasionally like people get a shot and everything, but typically it's like years or a decade plus of hard work where nobody sees anything that you do, and then all of a sudden you're like, you're doing all these things. It's like, no, I've been working for a decade trying and not making any money at all. And so it's just it's not a career for the faint of heart, as so many careers are, but when you can't not do anything else, that's all you think about. And every time you go to say, maybe I shouldn't, and then you die on the inside, then you must carry on. And the best advice that I ever got was from somebody else's acting coach, actually. And Greg Marks was his name. And he told me, I had just graduated. This was coming on like a year and a half ago now, or close to 2 years ago. I had just graduated my acting program, this Meisner program. Totally changed my life. But and he was like, oh, what's next for you? And I was like, well, I booked this thing and blah, blah, blah. And he said, okay, that's wonderful. That's amazing. My one piece of advice is always have something that you're working on. Because if you're waiting for an audition, to book an audition, waiting for a project, you will burn out pretty fast. And that's resonated true, because like if you're just an actor, it's beautiful and amazing, but you are at the will of like the world. And as an artist, it's never great to be at the will of the world. You have to, so whether it's writing or you're working on a project or you're doing a theater thing or whatever, to always keep that creative muscle going as an actor, because it's not for the faint of heart. It'll burn you out fast. You gotta have some boundaries.
You do, yeah. It's very sensible advice as well. I remember when I was younger, I was going to go into acting. I loved it. I did it all in school and college. I did my exams and qualifications in it. I was invited to take the exam for Lambda, at one point through a drama teacher. I never took it because my parents steered me away. They steered me away from quite a few things, actually. They steered me away from the acting because they said that exactly what you've just said. They said there's no money in it. You'll be unemployed. I was like, but I do what be doing what I love. Same with the armed forces. I was going to go in the armed forces. They steered me away from that. But the acting side, I've always had that book, and I've always wanted to do it again. Which is probably why I do this show now, because I enjoy.
I really don't think there's any wrong time to start, and I don't think it's too late at all for anyone ever, because like for me, acting was not possible to do in a realistic way. I grew up in a tiny town in the middle of nowhere in Montana. And to move to LA to start acting was like, I didn't have the money to do that. I didn't even know how to act. It was just a dream type of thing. So I lived this other life, all these other things, but that dream never died. You know what I'm saying? And like you're saying, you're like, I still have this bug. if it's there for a reason. You know what I'm saying? And if anything, like for me, I had built a life that enabled me to then go for it. Where I'll never be able to say what would or would have happened if I started earlier. But what I do know is that because I started later, aka I wasn't 17 years old or 12 or whatever, I could say no. I could protect myself, take care of myself, provide for myself, and I had all these other life experiences to use. And so it no longer is like totally exhausting or burning out or anything. So I think you should go for it.
Thank you. I did do something about 10 years ago. A friend was a director, and I went in. I'm not going to tell you what. Well, I went in a speaking part. I was an office manager in this show.
Yeah.
The character was the worst type of person you could ever be, and I didn't know because they gave me 2 pieces of the script and the story, which is where I had to my lines. They didn't give me any details of what else happens in there. And when I got there on the day, I was there for 13 hours because long days filming, aren't they?
Yeah.
For 2 hours, I was lying on the floor with my hands behind my back, simulating being tied up on a cold concrete floor for 2 hours, and because I was being tortured.
They didn't even tell you to be tortured.
No, there was a reason why. I'm not going to tell it off air. I'll tell you why, because the reason why I was being tortured, and it was a damn good reason, and I've got no qualms about that character whatsoever being tortured because of the person they were. They're part of a ring, should I say? Probably quite topical actually with Hollywood at the moment. That kind of an Epstein type ring.
Got it. Okay.
And now I know when I got there, I said, now I know why you've not given me any of the extras to the story. Because when I got there, they turned around and they did say, you do realise this is what the character is on it. I was like, and they go, it's very brave of you to take this on. I was like, what brave of me? Why? What's wrong with it? And I read it. I was like, oh my God, really?
Did you turn to your director friend and were like, thank you so much?
Yeah, I did. I was just like, what have you done? I wasn't very happy.
You're like, it's not real. It's not real.
But it was alright, it worked out alright. But yeah, there's that book you've got. I mean, like you say, with them taking so long to become successful, I think Samuel L. Jackson, said it successfully. He goes, it's only taken him 20 years to become an overnight success.
Yes, exactly.
I think it was him.
Yeah, exactly. Well, even like, I really admire Margot Robbie, her work and her professionalism and just she's great. Objectively, she's fantastic. Yeah. But she also in an interview, I think this was for, I can't remember. I think it's for I, Tonya, the movie. It's just quite a while ago, but someone was like, "Oh, you're such an overnight success," and she goes, similar to what Samuel L. Jackson said. She goes, you work so hard. So, like, she started acting when she was like, young. Yeah,
she really was. She was in all the soaps in Australia and everything. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. And she goes, you work really hard, and then all of a sudden you're an overnight, exactly. And people don't see the decades of work and all of that. And the other thing that I heard that I really love is it's not a sprint. This is a marathon. And so, and everybody defines success differently, but if you're sprinting, that might be great and that might work for you. But statistically, it probably doesn't. So, nourish yourself, live your life, focus on doing good work, and just enjoy the process of living life and doing. And what may happen, what may not, but at least you're enjoying the journey, which is very cheesy, but, there's a truth in it. That's why it's said, I guess.
Living the dream. But it's true, because, otherwise you could get stuck in, doing a job that you really, you know where your passion's elsewhere, which is why I do this show, because I've got my normal day-to-day job doing 40 hours, which it's all right, pay some money. But I do this show because this is my passion side of things. This is where I bring out that side. So and I did tell Tori. Actually, with Tori, I did it off, and I did my little impressions for Tori as well, and she was like, so. I can't remember if I did them for you last time.
No.
All right, this is my big INSP. If you're watching this, here you go.
Okay.
I've got we started the podcast. I was just doing stupid stuff to try and cheer people up. That's all it was. So it was like impressing like Don. What? And he sneezes.
What? That's incredible.
That was me, Donald. Thank you.
Yes.
I did hey there, folks. It's like Goofy. And
can you do Mickey Mouse?
No.
Okay, do another
It's
one.
squeaky, isn't he? He's just, I can't do Mickey Mouse.
Okay.
He's so squeaky. No, I can't do Mickey Mouse. Yoda, the only one I do is Yoda, which is like, when 900 years old, you reach look as good. You want that.
Impressions like that are something that I always have tried to do, and just I don't have that skill. Okay, I've tried. I don't. So I find this so impressive and like, mind blowing.
See if you can work this one. Ashton. Because if I say it with Piggy, you need to know it, Piggy. It's meant to be Kermit, to be honest, but it doesn't work very well. Yeah, thanks for that. It's not as good, that one. I actually did that to Mike Quinn, who was a Muppeteer.
Yeah,
and he was like, he just went, and this is Yoda as well. He went, oh, very good, and carried on. I was like, thanks, you've just ruined.
Okay, I'm gonna go cry now.
Yeah, there you go. There's my impressions. So if anyone's listening out there, producer world, I'm in.
It's over. Do it.
Yeah. So I'm looking at the time. I'm keeping you on as well. What 3 words? Can you describe Medora in 3 words?
Ooh. She is intelligent, she is charming, and she is, well, this is a dashed word. Fiercely loyal.
Yep. Yeah. No. Okay. I get those. I understand. Yeah, I get those points. Very good. Nice. Yeah. Fantastic.
And a whole host of other words I would use. Conniving, strong,
manipulative.
Powerful. Yes.
Assertive.
A dreamer. But
yeah. Carry on. Yeah. No, that's great. That is good. That's
fact actually about Madora. That we didn't play so much in the first season, and I would love if in future seasons, if this was hit on, is that, so it is said that the Marquis is an incredible shot, right? Like but historically, and I think it is referenced at some point in the show, but I would love if it were seen, is that Madora actually is said to have been the sharpest shooter of all men and women, period, in the West during that time.
I heard that.
I mean, yeah, and I'm like, we should have played with that. INSP, are you listening? Hello?
Yeah, exactly.
I would love to see Medora, like, shooting these targets and, charming and confidently about it. It's just, beginner's luck. But ding, 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 all the targets.
Oh, yeah. That would have been good. That would have been great to see. Maybe season 2, watch out. Show more of that side of Medora. And for yourself, Ashton, is there anything, I mean, I believe I've seen something recently. Is there anything you're coming out with now?
Yes.
I'll see you in?
I think it's been announced. It's in post-production now. And it's called The Darkness Returns. And it is a supernatural horror meets psychological thriller. In a nutshell, it's several different timelines and a curse that ties these timelines and these repeated lives together. And there's also a heart-racing thriller, bloody, and I play one of the lead roles where I go on a journey where at first, when you'll meet me in the film, I'm pretty ditzy and pretty simple, which was really fun to play. Actually, I was nervous to play something like that because I've never played like ditzy before. I've always played like very dramatic or serious or villainous or sad, which I love. So this was a challenge because I was like, don't judge the role, don't judge the character. She doesn't know she's that way. Anyway, but she goes through this arc where she becomes very strong and I won't give away, but she's become very strong and she's face down this thing. But what was really cool actually is working with everybody was fantastic. And this is another really lucky set where it's just great. But it was the first time I got to do all my own stunts. And so I got to work with Dalton, who has done all the seasons of The Walking Dead, the stunt coordinating dad, and they're just like stunt legends. And when I'm telling, he taught me so much, and he was so like focused on safety, but also building up my abilities and my confidence, and it looked so cool. I would watch some playbacks, and I'm like, what, Dalton? What? This looks so good. And like I'd have these rigs on underneath my clothing and be pulled and fly in the air and falling and all this stuff. And it was just like, it was really awesome. I'd always wanted to do my own stunts, and because of Dalton and awesome he is, it was a reality. They offered a double, and I was like, no, please, please, I really want to do it. And if it's bad, you can have somebody else, but please let me try. And it was good. It was really cool.
Fantastic, excellent.
Yeah.
And so I really want to see that because it's up my street. That kind of film. It's my
Oh,
perfect. I love
really?
horror films. I love like horror and suspense and
Okay,
supernatural.
okay.
Yeah.
You'll like
yeah.
this. You'll really enjoy this.
And yeah, you're gonna come back on obviously when that's out.
I know. We'll have to if there's time. There we go.
Yeah.
Again.
Oh yeah, you're welcome back anytime. It's always such a great laugh to chat to you.
Yeah.
And obviously, I mean, before I finish, I can't not bring this up. Mousegate.
My goodness. Yes. Where do you want to begin?
I was going to say, anyone who follows you would know if they watch you, look at your stories and stuff. It broke my heart seeing that first one, and it was awful. It's your reactions to it, and then the poor little Stephen. So he's okay now.
It's okay. Okay. So Folker discovered that I had a mouse in my house. We're just going to give some context here.
Yeah.
He discovered that I had a mouse in my house. As everybody knows, when there's one mouse, there's more. So I called, landlord, help, SOS. Exterminator came. He confirmed that there's actually no holes or openings to the outside, and he said, but there was like garbage outside that isn't typically there, and it's been like attracting mice. And he's like, and you probably let them in through like an open door, and it only takes a second.
Yeah.
And I think, I have a dog, so I take her out in the backyard, and sometimes I leave the door. You don't expect for creatures to come. So he said, you probably let this mouse in, or these mice. Great. So what did he do? He sent out all these traps everywhere. I didn't really think anything of it. He put a couple of the snappy kind, the jaws.
Yeah.
And then he also put these like sticky pads out with food on it, like a gooey food. And I don't know. I don't know what I assumed. I just assumed it. I don't know. I don't know what I assumed. I thought it'd be fine. I don't know. Anyway, and he said to me, do you have a boyfriend or somebody who can dispose of them? And I went, well, yeah, I do. I mean, but he's got a surgery right now. He's on one leg, so I can do it. And he said, I think it's gonna bother you. And I was like, I can do it. There's no worry. But this man was right, okay? Because then I came home that night, and I'm like tediously walking my house. I didn't stay in my house when the mice were. I was like, nope. My boyfriend actually lives like in the upstairs, one of the upstairs apartments.
Okay.
Like, oh, okay. So I'm sneaking around. It's like 1:00 in the morning. I'm tiptoeing around checking like the traps, and I walk into the open the closet door, and there on the mouse trap, there was a mouse on the mouse trap, and like I was like, oh, he's not moving. No, you saw his little face.
I saw, yeah. His little face was stuck to the side. It's horrible.
It was so horrible, and I instantly just started wailing because it's obviously horrific. And I know some people are like, oh, it's just a mouse. No, he's perfect, and he's innocent, and it's not his fault, and he's just in the wrong place, wrong time, and he's suffering, and he's clearly awful. It was absolutely horrid. But it's 1:00 in the morning. So I'm like, what do I do? Everybody's asleep. So first I'm like, the internet will know. So I'm asking SOS, what do I do? And then I realized it's 1:00 in the morning. Nobody's gonna be on. So I try to call one of my neighbors. She's sleeping as expected. So I run upstairs. I let myself into my boyfriend's apartment. This man wakes up at 5:00 in the morning for work. Okay, so like, keep in mind, this is like major brownie points. This guy. I burst in. I say, help me free the mouse! There's a mouse! I'm wailing. I haven't cried this hard in a long time. And then he helps me Google it, and it turns out that you can use vegetable oil, gloves, vegetable oil or some type of oil. And so we take him to the park. This man is hobbling on one peg leg. Like, what a trooper. He's got to wake up in 3.5 hours. Anyway, and it worked. The vegetable oil and the thing, I use a Q-tip, and he runs away, and he's all great and amazing and everything. And his name is Steven. Named him Steven. And then the last one was caught yesterday. And her name is Christina. And Christina was thick. She's been eating good. She was eating my dog's dog food.
Yeah, she's a bit of a tubby mouse.
I bought like a mouse hotel. I got rid of the other traps, and I used I didn't think it would work because they look like toys. They look fake. Okay. Yeah. But it's like this little green tunnel thing, and you put peanut butter or whatever. And I came in the next morning, and there she was. And I was like, I'll be darned. And now, it's been like a day and a half, and there's all these little mouse hotels everywhere, and they're all empty, and there's no signs, and house has been disinfected, but it it was an emotional roller coaster. But Steven is free, and now so is Christina. And so, and so I let them out at the same place in the park because I have this vision that they're a couple.
Yeah,
And
they've met together again.
Christina was either chonky or she's pregnant, and I'm glad that she didn't have babies in my house. But I have this vision that they reunited in the park, and they were scarred, and they went through hell and back, and now they're gonna have a family together, and that's great. And they can be bird food or whatever else the cycle of life will have. Just not in my house. So,
Yep.
lesson learned. Make sure that there's no garbage outside. Make sure. Because they're attracted to that, and they're wicked fast. Also, when I first saw Steven, I was like, I think it's a mouse, and I was vacuuming everywhere, and I'm seeing some signs, but obviously you don't see them because they hide.
Yeah.
And then I'd given my dog a bath, and I was kneeling on the floor actually, and I was like giving her love on the couch, and I see something out of the corner of my eye, and I look, and there's a mouse, and he's like got this wide stance, and he's frozen, and he's looking at me, and I'm looking at him, and I go. And then he just runs away. And they're so fast.
Oh, they are.
Anyway, so Mousegate, I'm hopeful is over. The house has been disinfected. I'm going to leave the mouse hotels up for a week to call it good, just in case. But I feel confident that Steven and Christina were the only ones.
Excellent. And that is Mousegate. Yep. That did keep me amused and worried, obviously, because I saw the little mouse. It was quite horrible. Those traps are awful.
I don't know what I was expecting. I clearly didn't think it through. I knew I didn't like the snappy ones, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, don't use the sticky traps. It's really horrible. And also, they'll die a slow death of starvation, number one. Or here's the other thing: it's so stressful for them that they die from stress.
Yeah. Yeah, it's horrible.
That's absolutely horrible. Like, I understand they're a mouse and they carry disease and you don't want them in their house, but like, they're a creature.
Can't put them through that.
You can't do that, especially when there's options that you can just catch the guys and then just drive them out.
Catch and release.
Come back, release them.
Exactly.
Mousegate was. I feel my humanity came to the forefront with Mousegate. I never knew I felt such a way about mice, but I do. They're important.
Oh, they're the creatures, aren't they? They are important creatures. Yeah. Cool. Before I finish recording now, is there anything you'd like to say, Ashton, to people this time round? Because there will be another time.
Thank you. A, thanks for watching. B, if you haven't, you should check out Elkhorn. And I'm so sorry to hear that if you're in the UK, you can't watch it. INSP is probably working on that.
They are. I'm sure they are.
I'm sure they are. And Elkhorn is, I watch it on Friendly TV. It's also on Sling. It's on all those cable things. I highly encourage you to watch for obvious reasons. And thank you for watching if you haven't. Stay tuned for other things to come. Also, keep your doors closed so mice don't come in your house. And that's all, probably.
Thank you very much.